Hi, I'm Marshall. I'm the owner of Going Gear, and I'm here in our store in Smyrna, Georgia. And this is the extended review of the Nitecore MH27. All right, here is the Nitecore MH27, one of the latest lights in their MH series, the multitasker hybrid series. Built-in charging, bunch of cool features. You've got multiple colors of LEDs. Cree XPL High LED in there is the main LED, so you get really good beam distance. It's a really neat light. A lot of things going on with this, and it's been one of the most requested videos by you guys. Been getting constant messages, constant emails, even people coming into the store be like, hey, Marshall, when are you going to do a video? So I'm doing a video. Talk about some specs here on the side. So you got 1,000 lumens on max output, 708 hours of max runtime, so that's going to be on the lowest output, 462 meters of beam distance. So this is not a large light by any means. It's something you can slide in your pocket. Maybe not what most people put in their pocket, but it's definitely pocketable. And you get 462 meters of beam distance thanks to that Cree XPL High LED. And then, as always, you can get the full specs on our site, goinggear.com. So this is kind of an updated version of the SRT7, although they still have the SRT7, and the SRT7 is still a great light, and it does differ from this a little bit. This one actually uses two switches. So you've got the rear switch on the end, and you got two switches on the head to adjust the output and change modes and stuff like that, versus the SRT7 where you had that ring that you turned. So they still make the SRT7, but this is kind of the spiritual successor to that, with the built-in charging, with the multiple LEDs and all of that. So the other stuff that you get, so you have a nice holster. This is a pretty nice holster. I'll show that here in just a second. You get a charging cable, since this is a rechargeable light. So you have a micro USB charging cable. You just stick one end into the light. You got this rubber cover. Flap just goes up. Stick the cable in there. Stick the other end into some sort of power source. And then you have a lanyard. You have a pocket clip. You have a spare boot cover tail cap in case you ever shred that thing for any reason. I've never done that personally, but we've gotten customers that have done it, on accident, grinding it across something. You have a replacement for that. You got some spare O-rings. And then the user manual. Nitecore makes some nice user manuals, so there's a ton of good information in here. You can see how detailed they get. So they got outputs and runtimes. They've got information about charging, how to use the light. Lots of good information in here, and they're really well written. So they're easy to read, easy to understand. Definitely worth taking a look at that. So the holster, nice sturdy nylon holster. They've been getting better over the years, and this one's a pretty nice one. So the light just slides down in there. Got the flap that goes over the head, and then you can actually access the tail cap there on the bottom. And then you've got some attachment points. So you've got this metal D-ring right there if you want to attach it there. And you've got the hook and loop strap and a belt strap in there. Good protection for the light. Pretty decent holster. You can always upgrade to something else if you want something like a Maxpedition holster. You always have that option, or just not use a holster at all. All right, so let's take a closer look at the light. You got the two switches on the side, the plus and the minus, the charging port on the other side with the micro USB cable. I like that they're not using a proprietary cable, so if you happen to use or destroy that cable, it's not a big deal, because I know I have probably 30 micro USB cables just within arm's reach, let alone all around the house and my vehicles and bags and all that kind of stuff. And even if you don't, they're really cheap and easy to get. You can get them in pretty much any store these days. I see them in gas stations. I see them in grocery stores. They're all over the place. So it's really easy to replace that cable, which is nice in your electronic devices. Switch on the rear. You've got that anti-roll ring. You can use it in conjunction with the handgun if you want to do that. That's kind of the intention around that thing. And then there are your LEDs down in there. So let's see if we can get the camera to focus. So that LED in the center is a Cree XPL High LED. That's called a domeless LED. So if you look at your typical LED, you can see it has a dome over the chip or the die itself. And the Cree XPL Highs do not. And what that does is it makes for a very, very focused beam. Some other manufacturers before Cree was actually making these themselves were taking and popping that dome off, and Cree saw the results that you could get with that, and they started actually manufacturing the LEDs themselves. So the LED does actually have a dome over it. Cree calls it a flat dome, so it's just a flat covering over there to help protect the LED. And they also have these three other LEDs. So you've got red, green, and blue LEDs in there. And we'll show you those here in just a little bit. It's a pretty neat setup. A lot of things going on with this light. So you got the built-in charging. You got the great beam distance. You got the multiple LEDs in there with the multiple colors and a nice interface. So this light is powered by an 18650 battery or two CR123s. Obviously, if you want to use the built-in charging, you have to use an 18650 battery. That is the intention. Do not try to charge CR123s. You will have a bad situation on your hands or blown up all over your hands. You got a silica packet in there, so we're going to go ahead and get that out of there. Nitecore loves to shove silica packets everywhere. So we're just going to stick an Olight 3400 milliamp hour 18650 in there. We always get this question, is it better to use a certain manufacturer's batteries? As long as you're going with a reputable manufacturer, you're good to go. They're all using Panasonic or Sanyo or LG or one of the good battery manufacturers. They're putting their own protection circuits in there. So as long as you're going with a reputable flashlight manufacturer or a reputable battery manufacturer, then you can interchange them as long as they don't have any sort of proprietary connections or anything like that. You're good to go. So I've got an Olight 3400 milliamp hour 18650 in here, and it works just fine. So the interface on here is you have this rear switch that turns the light on, and then you have these side switches that can switch through your different outputs and then get into your different colors as well. So you can see when you do a light press on the switch, you get the momentary. Click it all the way through for constant on, and as you hit the switches, it'll cycle through your different colors and your different outputs. So it starts out in blue, you've got green, you've got red, and then you start going through your different white outputs. And people always ask about this. That little ring in the middle there, that disappears when you get not too far away. And that's present in pretty much every reflector flashlight. So I have the light about 18 inches away, and that the hole in the center disappears. So in real world usage, you're not going to see that at all. That's just something that happens when you're using a reflector and an LED. You also have quick access to the red and the max output from on or off. So see, if you have the light turned on, press and hold that plus button and it'll go straight into the max output. Press and hold the minus and it'll go straight into red. You can also do that from off. So if you press and hold the plus, hit the switch, it'll come on in the max output of white. Do the same thing for the minus and it'll come on into red. You have some flashing modes as well. So if you press and hold both switches at once while it's on, it'll go into strobe. Hit that plus, it'll go into a location beacon flashing. Hit it again and it'll go into SOS. And you can cycle back down through those. You also have some color flashing modes. So they call this like a police strobe. I don't know the legality of that, so I wouldn't really recommend using that in public a whole lot. You also have just a red flashing and then a blue flashing and then no green flashing. So you just have the blue flashing, red flashing, the police, and then your other white flashing modes as well. And there are memories for those with the exception of the location beacon and the SOS. So just like any of the regular outputs, if you turn it off and you turn it back on, it's going to go back into whatever flashing mode you had it in last, again, with the exception of the SOS and the location beacon. A lot of stuff going on with this, but the regular operation is pretty simple. So you just got the switch there on the end and you just hit that plus and minus until you find what you want. Just do that and you can be good to go. It's kind of nice that you can directly access the red and the max output from off, and it has the memory. So if you want to, you can kind of have it set up where your default going into the lowest output, and then when you want to, you can just kick it on into that max or the red, and then still have the memory of those as well. Works pretty well. So again, on the interface, just lightly press the tail switch, you get the momentary, click it all the way for constant on, and then your plus and minus will cycle through your different outputs and colors. You can directly access the max output of white and the red from off by pressing and holding either the plus or the minus, respective of which one you're trying to get into. And then you have the flashing modes as well. You can use the plus and minus to cycle through those. So the MH27 is a neat light. There's a lot of things going on with it. You got the multiple colors, you got the great beam distance, you got the built-in charging, you got the 18650 compatibility, pretty compact size, high output. A lot of stuff going on, and it does it all well. So let's go ahead and take the MH27 outside, and we'll show you how it can do outside. All right, got the Nitecore MH27 outside. Got the big 40 mag light that I always use as a control. Let's go ahead and try out the mag light first, since everybody knows what it can do. Tree right there is about 30 feet away. Dock house down there on the lake is 100 feet. Let's go ahead and try out that Nitecore. So there it is on max output. Very, very concentrated beam on this. So 30 feet, 100 feet, you can see the hotspot isn't even really lighting up the entire dock house because it's so focused, it's so concentrated, but that's what you want a light like this. This is made as a kind of medium distance light. When I say medium distance, we have ones that'll go out to 1 kilometer. So I guess for most people, this is a pretty long distance light, but still at 300 plus meters, it's pretty impressive that a light this size can go out that far. And you can see how intense it is at the 100 feet. Let me show you what the other outputs look like. We'll cycle through. Even down on the lower outputs, you can see how well it makes it out there to 100 feet. And then the lowest one, I don't know how well it's showing up on the camera, but it's lighting up that little tree okay. Great for up close kind of stuff. And then you've got the colors as well. There's the red, you got the green, and then the blue. And then when you need it, you can cycle quickly up, or I showed you earlier how to quickly, instantly actually get to the lowest, or the red, and the max of the white from off. All right, let's go ahead and try it out at a longer distance and show you what it can do at a little bit longer distance. All right, we got about 130 yards to work with now. Let's go ahead and try out that MH27. Tree right there is about 20 feet away. Got a couple targets set up out there. The boat is normally over there. It fell down, too lazy to get it. Got a couple targets set up out there, 50 yards on the right, 100 yards on the left. Tree line beyond is 130 yards. You can tell that this light can definitely do more distance than this. So this is just 130 yards. It's rated for over 300 meters, which is pretty close to a yard. So it can go out further than this when you need it to. Really intense beam on that, really concentrated hotspot, but even at a distance you can see how bright the spill is. So the spill itself is nice and bright. I'm kind of shining it up to the side, and it doesn't really make it out to that first target at 50 yards, but it probably makes it out there to a good probably 30 or 40 yards really, really well. We're kind of shining it around, and actually you can see, so the white sign's right there at about 60, 65 yards, and it lights those up sort of well. So really bright or really light colored things like white or light grays or anything like that, the spill alone is going to make it out there, and then you can obviously point the hot spot at anything you want to light up more intensely. Let me show you the lower outputs, see how those do this kind of distance. Still getting out there just fine. And then the lowest one, good for up close kind of stuff, you can see is lighting up the trunk of that tree at 20 feet away pretty well. And then you got all those colors. Really cool light, cool interface on it, a lot of things going on. You got the different colors, you got the white light with the really nice intense beam. Got the built-in charging, instant access to the red, instant access to the max output of the white. They did a good job on this one. I can see why it's been so popular. So there you go. That is the Nitecore MH27. If you like it, you can buy it from me at goinggear.com. Any questions or comments, you can reach me in the comments or any of my guys at goinggear.com. As always, get going and start something. Thanks for watching.